What's up guys, it's currently 8:58 p.m. January 15th and I'm recording this video in advance because tomorrow, in less than 10 hours from now, Stanford summer high school program is literally going to announce the results. I'm curious, have Stanford came out? Yeah, it's like 7:20 a.m. and normally I think they release at 7 p.m. Wednesday, so should have came out. I'm just gonna check. I'm not gonna open it though. Oh, it hasn't came out yet. Today. Wait. So I need to wait another, 6 hours? We'll check at 8:50, I think. So yeah, let's see. Amen, bro, amen.
Dang. Lucky charm, bro. Tony. Oh, shit! What do you think? Come on.
You got in.
Yeah!
It seems like when you press onto this video, the only goal that you have is to skim through the entire video or go to the timestamp so I can review my application, so then you could copy the structure or you could find inspiration from my application, right? And listen, I've been there, all right? I've basically binge watched hundreds of different application videos, from ones that are from high school students to existing university students. And if you would just give me 10 minutes of your time, literally 10 minutes, I would literally tell you something that you have never ever heard from any of these videos and will never ever find as well. And literally this strategy is more powerful than any essay structure that you've heard online or any ECs that they tell you to prioritize and putting in your application. And if you're wondering, yes, by the end of this video, you'll be able to see the entire application that I submitted to Stanford. And let me tell you in advance that this application is far from perfect, and I would say is a pretty typical student application, just showing an individual high school student who's super passionate and interested in business. So let's get straight into it. I believe religion was one of the biggest roles that partake in the submission of my application to Stanford. And with so many different rumors and talks out there, obviously religion is a really complicated topic which I couldn't fully explain in the 10-minute that you have given me, right? So to really understand how religion played a huge role since the beginning of the application, we really have to go back to the story of how I got introduced to religion. And no worries, this is going to be a really quick couple-minute story for you to hear. My first encounter of the Christian religion was back when I was 10 years old. I remember one day my parents told me that I will be transferring from an international school to a local Christian school back when I was 4th grade. And of course, I was really surprised because local school back then at that time had lots of homework, and that's the last thing that you want, right? So I ended up going to that Christian school for about 3 years or so. And every single day I remember we would pray in the morning and also right before lunch. And back then, I would say religion was just a thing that I knew about, and I really didn't care about going a step further in investigating towards religion except for doing our Bible class homework. Until I remember around March of 2023, I met a tour guide during a high school experience week camp in Hong Kong. And at that time, right, it seems like a long time ago, it was a period when everyone finally was able to come out of their home from COVID-19. Close your eyes and imagine one day you decided to kayak out into multiple different islands in your home country, and really with all of your good friends, and to places which you have never been before. And you saw some amazing mountains, and you could hear your friends chatting around you, and you're splashing water with each other, and you're just having an awesome time. After a full day of kayaking, you return back to an amazing and cool beach where you'll be staying there in a tent with one of your best friends overnight. And no surprisingly, you didn't go to a restaurant to eat dinner that night. You had to learn how to cook your own meal with literally a canister of gas and a pan which was used thousands of times in camping, frying all the meats like ham and putting in rice into the pan, trying to figure out how you can cook it for the first time without using an actual electric stove or a true stove that you have at home, right? You have an amazing dinner. At the end of the day, you're told to be gathered in this amazing pier where you can hear the ups and downs of the waves rising onto the shore and going back into the ocean, while you can hear the honks of the boats going around, wind blowing into your shoulders and into your face, and you just feel so relaxed. And then imagine yourself sitting together in a circle, just being able to see someone's face and connect with them deeply in a conversation without any distractions, without any phones or any computers or any alarms that you have to worry about, and you just have to be present in that moment. And that was one of the core moments that made me fall in love with nature and all of these different experiences. As a person who's super curious on how I can recreate this experience for more people and even for myself, I approached the two tour guides and sat next to them on the wooden bench and started chatting with them, talking about their life story and how their experience was and why they really decided to lead this group. And one of the things that I found out was they were both Christians. And another thing that really struck me was the joy and the inner happiness that they had when they were talking to myself. They were constantly very calm and they had a really positive mindset. After this experience, I thought that this was just something that was too good to happen. And then I started to think deeper into how I got the opportunity to have experienced this moment with this specific group of people in this specific time. And that really made me conclude that there is some sort of upper power that controls our destiny and controls what we have encountered in life, and it's kind of already pre-planned in some sort of way. And I think this is really what made me look more into Christianity and specifically Catholicism. And ever since this experience, I've met a lot more Christians, from my founding business partner, Chris, to literally my badminton coach. I started attending church during my 6-week stay in Pittsburgh, hearing the different prayers and really seeing people gather together to pray for the greater good. And this really made me fall more in love in Catholicism and religion in general, because no matter which religion you believe in, right, most of them have the same principle of being a good person and helping others. And then finally, just another thing to include, I started studying the Bible and learning about God's word and having my own interpretations. Whew, my legs are getting a bit tired there. So back to the topic. You're probably wondering, how does this connect to my Stanford application? So basically what happened was, for the past 21 days, so if we count back to, I would say around the beginning or the mid-December, I actually made a promise to God to let Him help me decide on whether or not Stanford is something that I should attend for 8 weeks in the summer of 2025. And notice how I stayed here, let Him decide, rather than 100% kind of like forcing God to help me get into Stanford. And one of the promises that I had with God was, no matter if I get into Stanford or not get into Stanford or not, I would create this video to tell the world about Christianity and inform them on this decision. And I want to clear a common misunderstanding first about praying to God, which is that many people believe that praying to God just blindly means that you will get accepted to whatever dream school you have, or you will get what you want. But that is not true if you don't put in the hard work. And I know I sound very generic, and you probably heard this so many times, but according to the Bible, right? Just like in Genesis 6 verse 14, when God gave the instruction to Noah to build an ark, He did not directly give Noah an ark. But Noah had to spend 60 plus years, according to people, with his family to build a massive ark that can contain all of the creatures before God wipes the earth and create a better world. So what this implies is that in order to be successful in an opportunity, you need to know your why or your purpose on how this opportunity would help shape your journey, or at least give a better brief direction on where you want to go in life. And I believe that this will also motivate you to work hard and deserve this opportunity. And then here is where praying comes after you've know your why and you worked hard, which is that you're telling God that you have done your best and let him decide on whether or not it is the right decision for yourself to participate in this opportunity or to get the thing that you've been praying for. And I know it's really hard to explain this or believe this because I'm also the type of person who only believes in something when I see results or when I see that thing from my eyes, right? So I know how it feels right now after listening to this entire story and trying to believe some random person on the internet who just gone to Stanford. Like, how do you know this person is not lying? How do you know this person did not pay his way through? Right? I completely understand that because I also have this sense of stranger danger, as they all say. But based on all of the stories and all of the people that I've met in my life, all I can say is that religion played a huge role in helping, no matter if it's myself or them, contribute to living a better and more happier life. So all I'm gonna say on what religion have brought me is that number one, I feel more joy than ever in my life. Number two, I feel more calm, especially when handling challenging things or obstacles in my life. And number three, I just feel more purposeful. And I think this is something that 99% of the world and of many people don't really have, which is the main cause of why, you know, you're mentally ill right now, or you're feeling depressed, or you just feel the lack of motivation to do something and pursue a greater life. Therefore, religion, it have been an awesome answer and just something that helped inspire me to live a greater life, right? Because at the end of the day, all we want to do is live a happy and joyful life in our own terms with our own meanings. And part of that, of course, is not only contributing to yourself, but also serving others. So now I'm going to switch over screens and go onto my computer, as you've probably been waiting for so long to have a look at my application.
Alright guys, so we first take a look at the introductory questions for the Stanford application. You'll be able to see that Stanford does ask you some specific questions about what you're interested in before you show all of your academics and all of your other normal application stuff. So in terms of what area you want to study, I personally selected social sciences and humanities. And for yourself, obviously, you want to be selecting something that you're interested in and that your application can also reflect. So for example, if you were super into history and you showed a lot of extracurriculars on, history and how you're passionate about it, then you should probably select something related to history in your options. And specifically, Stanford will also...
Alright guys, so if you guys skip towards this part of the video, I will highly suggest you to go back and watch the first couple minutes because it is such an important aspect of the application and I don't go through it in this part of the application. So make sure to go back and rewatch the entire section before coming to this application section. Alright guys, back to the video.
Asks you about what courses you want to be doing. So I would highly recommend you to choose multiple different courses to kind of show your flexibility to Stanford. So here I selected 4 options and I think they had like 6 options in total. And according to people who have been into this Stanford program in general, they would look at your report card first and then read your essays. So you want to ensure that you are still somewhat achieving a level of achievement for your academic grades, right? So in terms of activities, Stanford does let you put 5 different activities and I have filled all 5. But if you personally feel like you only have 3 solid activities that supports your other application parts and your essays, then I would suggest you to only put 3. And remember, it's always quality over quantity. So in this case, I'm going to briefly run through the activity list that I put here. You could read my overall description here. So for the description, I would suggest you focusing on what you have personally contributed towards this organization or this activity, as many of these schools just want to see how you contributed rather than how we contributed or what someone else did for the organization. So you can see I did use more personal pronouns here on what I did for this solution and also emphasizing on maybe some awards that you have got from this solution as well. Same thing here. For example, in this one, right, I was responsible for developing the business model. So I did not say I'm responsible for creating the entire solution because you also want to portray your specific passion towards this organization, as Stanford and many schools will also want to see what you are specifically specializing in and reflected upon other parts of your application as well. So basically with the 5 activities, I would say select 5 which you personally feel that you are super passionate about or that really represents yourself. So for example, let's just say I have so many other activities like I did actually the piano ABRSM, so I could have put that here, but I personally believe that piano was not a thing that would represent myself. So even though it may seem more attractive or more fancy compared to other activities that I've put here, this is really important because you want to show the university your true self. So then they can decide whether or not you are a fit to the university. And even if you get rejected at the end, always believe it's because you are not a fit for the university. It's very important to also do research on the university. So for example, if we switch over, I have gone through and read the meaning behind the Stanford motto and really study deeply about the culture of this university and how it compares to other universities. So then I can get a feel whether or not this university is a fit. And no matter if it's for, a summer school application or if it's for the actual university application, this is a really good tip. And then after that, in your essays, you can include something similar or something that mentions your research point. So then they can see that you actually did the research and that you're actually a fit to the university. And that's something that many people really would miss out on. And I think it's really underrated. Normally, the people that they select would reflect their overall Stanford motto. So then you kind of understand what type of people you're going to be expecting in your friend group. Back to the application, I've gone on a full rant. Again, you want to emphasize on the persistence and the consistency that you've shown through all of these activities. And you can see one of the common themes that I have was how I'm trying to present myself as someone who serves an organization or serves others. So for example, you can see here, even for the athlete part, I wrote, I also helped coach the school table tennis team for 2 seasons. Think about the small little things that you've done to help other people, even though it may seem like a small thing. Like for example, I only coach the school table tennis team. It's not like I coach, the entire region, right? It still is something significant for the application to show that you're a kind and good-hearted person inside. So hopefully this activities application can kind of show you how you want to present your activities. And again, like at the end of the day, I always feel like these applications are a marketing proposal, right? It's really thinking about how you present yourself to the organization. So then they see that you're a fit for them and they can easily just checkbox you and accept you to their organization without having so much frustration and debate. All right, so if we go down here, of course, your long-awaited essay, and you can see there are 4 questions here I screenshotted. So I think for these prompts, the most important thing is to show your academic rigor, number 1, and reflect upon a challenge that you kind of faced and something that you're super proud of, and that will make you stand out from other people. Because if you logically think about it in, again, like the marketing angle, right? What are these university applicants looking for? Let's just say for a high school program now, and we could talk about university later on. But for a summer session high school program, they would want to see that a student is able to rigorously attend academic courses because you are currently in high school and you're going to be attending these undergraduate Stanford courses at one of the top institutes. So they want to see that you're able to adapt to the academic rigor. So that's why in your essay, you want to choose a prompt that can reflect that you're able to take on these challenges, which is why I decided to choose prompt number 1. What strength and quality do you have that most people might not see or recognize? You can see breakdown on my essay right now. During my high school career, my key strength is my versatility to excel between academic and non-academic commitments. So you can see in the first line, you answer the question. And this is something that many people don't do. And obviously it's mentioned in so many other college essay videos, but please just answer the question, right? Answer what strength or quality do you have that most people might not see or recognize. Literally stated in the first point. It's just basically writing a high school, English essay. In our school, we use the Peel paragraph called the point, evidence, explanation, and link. So this is exactly what you want to do for your application. There's no difference. You want to have your argument first, and then you want to explain it, and then you have your evidence, and then you have your link on how it connects back to the overall prompt and what you're going to do in the greater cause. And you could see it here. I did the exact same thing. This, if we just break down, right, this is going to be my point. And this is for any application essay, right, to make you successful. Accentuated directly in the process of thriving academically, in which I held. So this is literally the evidence, right? So after the point, you just immediately want to jump straight into the evidence. So you don't want to just, toggle around the point and not make it clear. You just want to directly give the answer, because if you think about it, Stanford's application rate is 8 to 10% acceptance rate for this program. And for the official one, is less than 5%. So if you think about it, there are more than 5,000 students applying to this college. So do you think that admissions officers will really have the time to read all of these essays in great detail? Probably not. So you want to make it clear on how you stand out from other students or how you fit into the university, right? Flourished and grew rapidly due to my ability to identify tasks. So here is more of the explanation part. Oh my. And this part is the evidence, right? This is the explanation part. And then down here, I did include more direct examples explaining my evidence. So this explains how it links back to the first point that I've made, which is I'm able to thrive academically and non-academically because I'm able to use a skill transfer here. So that's another point that I've brought indirectly, right? Without even mentioning it. So literally this is another point that Stanford admissions officers would be able to see. And it still supports my overall point of academic and non-academic commitments. All right, so direct examples, which I've explained here, just means that I'm able to directly use the skills that I've learned in school and transfer it towards my business, as you can see here. And I also explained indirect examples where there is a process of skill transfer, where I'm able to connect my approach with mathematics, where I'm just reviewing mathematical laws before approaching complex problems, and then similarly apply it to other fields in business where I am reviewing daily. So this is basically showing the consistency and the skills that I've built in mathematics, which is the consistency of reviewing these fundamental laws before approaching complex problems, and then bringing that into business, because in business, you also have to constantly practice your sales pitch in order to be able to, explain it really well to your clients, right? So I'm able to bring an example here where it's, even though I'm not using the exact knowledge which I've learned in math, I'm using the similar process, right? Similar systems in other fields. You want to have a clear summary, but you want to have a clear link back to the point that you've made and how you're going to apply this in the future. And this is really for every single prompt. I literally state, I will continue doing this at the Stanford Pre-Collegiate program and utilize my learnings to further serve and create value at my fullest potential. So after I mentioned I'm going to be continue doing this in the Stanford program, I also mentioned what my purpose is with this program, which is to further serve and create value at my fullest potential. And even though this sounds really general, just having a brief overview on your motivation and really your ambition towards this program really takes it the next step for this entire essay. It's a really simple structure, so you just really want to be concise with your words because you only have 250 to 300 words. Learning this in English class and additional reading is really useful. So have your point in the beginning, and then straight up have your evidence, which directly shows your point, right? You can see here, I've made 2 points. Number 1, I'm able to excel academically. So obviously in your evidence, you want to show how you excelled academically, which is shown here. Number 1 for mathematics. I know I'm going into really deep detail here, but really it's about the details which makes an essay come out. And 70% of the time, it's your essay that makes you get into these programs. So that's why I'm emphasizing a lot on this. And then number 2, I made the point on non-academic commitment. So right after that, you want to think about what proves this point the best, which is managing 6 software startups, achieving an email cold booking rate, industry standard 2.9%. So you literally want to show that right afterwards. So then they won't question you. They won't be like, oh, how are you doing this without showing, right? Show, not tell. And then after that, you have your explanation, go into more detail towards your first sentence. And then you want to include more examples on how you're doing this academically and applying it towards your non-academic commitments. Because I've made 2 points here, that's why I'm able to do contrasting here and also able to apply it in a similar direction for both examples. You just have a really clear and concise link. So what I basically did here and how you're going to be able to craft this sentence is this part. Let me just actually use if we go back to the topic sentence, my key strength and my versatility to excel, my key strength and my ability to adapt to highly rigorous commitments. This is literally an exact restatement of your thesis. And I literally said the exact same thing. My key strength is my versatility to excel. I said my key strength again is my ability to blah, blah, blah. This red part, this is what I explained in the explanation. You can see I said identifying complementary skill sets and developing an efficient plan. Where have I shown that? I've shown that up here. So if you go back to the explanation part, where have I shown complementary skill sets? I've shown complementary skill sets in composing efficient client campaigns, relating it to PSAs for English, and then maximize growth in these commitments. You could go back up here and find it, right? Hence allowing me to identify weaknesses that I can focus on addressing, which is maximizing growth, basically. Contextual mapping. This is called contextual mapping from the paragraph above, right? So this is how you want to link it down, and you just basically want to combine it into one whole sentence. So that's how I come up with so hopefully this was a clear breakdown of the essay. I know it's a bit long, but hopefully these tips help. Going down to the reference letter, you can see I submitted 1 reference letter, but I believe you can submit 2 reference letter at max. So I'll highly recommend you to submit a reference letter that reflects your overall application. So for example, if your overall application is emphasizing on how you're really passionate with history, probably submitting your history teacher will be recommended. And if your application has multiple different aspects, it's recommended to also submit a STEM teacher based on other people who have also applied and the people that I've talked to. And again, like the most important thing I believe is your essay and obviously your grades. So application recommendation letter is really just an add-on to support what you've said in your essay or what you've shown in your activity list. And yeah, also if you have done the SAT and you got an ideal mark, you should also probably include in your application. But for me, I haven't actually done it yet, so I did not include it for this application. So moving on to report cards, you can see I've submitted, this is going to be my grade 10 report card. So I submitted the OSSD version. So basically what my school takes is the Ontario version. So we can see here that number 1, here is the course median. And here is my mark, right? And we can see, like, just really briefly looking at my report card, it's really not perfect, right? You're not expecting like 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. I'm far from perfect. And you'll be able to see like, these are 90 something, which is solid. Some of them are even below median because let's just say that grade 10 was a year where I was trying different things. I was running like 5 businesses in 1 year, which is crazy. And school I also took really seriously, but then I had to spend a lot more time and sacrifice to run my other businesses and really learn more about the business world. And that's how I got so many of the ECs. And you can see my grades did take a bit of a dip. I wouldn't say it's that much of a dip. I'm still keeping 90 plus for most of my important subjects, and I am improving. You can see from most of my subjects, but it have definitely been an interesting year to find, the balance between school and extracurriculars. And I'm super grateful for all of the experiences, to be honest. So we take a look here even for science, it just shows that Stanford is a school that's not really looking for a perfect student with 100 marks for every single subject, right? Because we all understand that everyone has their own weaknesses in specific subjects. For me, it's going to be science. Focus more on your strength and develop yourself in those aspects. And for subjects like science, you still obviously want to put effort and continue working on it. Yes, I have done also another program last year summer in the Carnegie Mellon University. And this is something that you would also want to include, right? So for example, if you've done another entrepreneurship program and they have a certificate, or if you've done another pre-college program in another university, you also want to be including this in all of your applications to show that you're passionate and you're also capable of taking these pre-college programs or undergraduate programs or whatever you're applying to, right? So hopefully looking at my application gives you an idea or maybe sparks an inspiration on how you can apply for not only Stanford, but for any top universities.
All right, so back to the topic. If there was one key takeaway that you can take from this video, other than the Stanford application that you've seen before, copy as much of your structure as you want, do whatever you want with it, it is to actually believe in a religion. No matter if it's Catholicism or Buddhism or Hinduism, right? Just do more research about it, hear other people's story, and really try it out for yourself, because it has changed so many people's lives and it will probably also change yours. And a couple more things, we're coming to the end of the video. So if you want to stick around and learn about how I actually pray to get into Stanford, or just in general how I pray, since I believe it's really useful for Catholicism, stick to the end of the video, as I'll include a 2-minute bonus clip explaining how I'm praying right now. And for those who wants to learn more about Catholicism, I'll include some links that I use to study myself as well. And note that I'm definitely not affiliated with any of these individuals, as I just think these will help you learn more about Catholicism as it helped myself. And finally, and most importantly, if you yourself have experienced some life-changing experiences or some phenomenon which you think is tied back to religion, please do let us know in the comments below and share it with other people, so then they can hear your story as well and I will also love to learn more about yourself. Alright guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video or at least found it somewhat valuable. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Alright guys, for those who is still sticking around and want to learn about how I prayed to get into Stanford, just also note that there are many different ways on praying. This is not specifically like one right answer or one wrong answer, but this is how I personally am praying to God and talking to Him. And of course, if you know about Catholicism and religion in general, there's definitely a specific scripture that you could follow to pray. For example, when you eat lunch or eat any meal before, you can do the God's prayer, right? Like there's a specific scripture that you can write. But in addition to what I do normally, I also would pray for greater good. And I think this is really common for all of the religions. So what you would basically do is just think about issues that you've encountered yourself and also for other people, and just basically pray for them. And one of the things that you want to do, which I've also learned as I'm reading the Bible right now and learning from other followers of Christ, is that you need to be really specific with what you want to pray with. So for example, rather than praying to God, God, I really pray that I want to have a good grade for the next test. You want to elaborate on how that good grade would make a greater impact on yourself, on others, which is very important, and also on God, as God wants you to become a greater person and everything. So for example, if you, instead of praying for a good grade, you probably want to start off by praying for someone else, right? Because if you think about it, there is definitely someone else out there who needs the prayer more than yourself. So you want to pray for them first and really genuinely do it. Like, don't just do it because I'm telling you to do it or people tell you to do it, but God can see through if you're an authentic person or not. So you want to do it in a genuine way, and then afterwards just talk to God on what your desires are, and He will understand you, and just continue doing it and continue adapting and continue, such a hard thing to explain, but just continue doing it consistently and studying God's words, and eventually He will come and help you and support you and guide you to become the best person you are and the best person you can be. So yeah, I guess the core takeaway is to be more specific with praying, and praying, as like any skill, also takes time. And if you want to improve praying, I assume you can also look at how other people are praying, consider their structure, and then come with your own way to talk to God. And slowly you'll adapt and find your own way and your own way to connect with God. So yeah, that's basically a really brief understanding on how I'm praying right now.